So at home states, I did find out that he only applied for the show because he lost a bet at the gym.
A lot happened in the final few episodes. Like, there were plenty of tears. Let's start back at final vows. So you and Cody commit to each other. What happens between then and the reunion?
After that, he made the plans to have me spend Christmas with his family and meet his 94-year-old grandma.
That's a big step as well, to meet the whole family at Christmas.
But especially like grandma,
yeah,
like Nonna, like that's huge. Like I don't know. To me, especially in my culture anyway, and I'm sure in a lot of others, like you don't bring home someone, especially to meet grandma. Like she's 94. She's like the old lady from Titanic. We spent so much time with his friends, his family over December. And then all of a sudden he was the one that said, look, leading up to a reunion now, like I really want to start making plans for the future. And again, to me, I was like, wow, this is massive for Cody. Let's keep doing long distance. And then you move to Sydney and move in with me, not to that house, but the house that we had dinner at his mum's house. So we would be moving into that house.
What happens at the reunion then? Like is everything still on the same page when you're walking in and everything's good then?
Yeah, like I thought everything was fine, everything was sweet. He was a little bit standoffish when the crew came in, and I was like, oh no, not this again. And I just thought, again, when you care about someone and you love them, you make excuses. And I thought, okay, maybe it's because the cameras are around us. It's not just you two. There's like 5 other people in the room with you. And, the producer obviously wanted to portray, like, you guys are together now, guys. Like, come on, let's show them, like, how about Cody get up and give her a kiss? And he just kept making, like, narky comments like, oh. And I'm like, oh, like, that is gut-wrenching. And there's, like, 4 other guys in the room. And I'm like, why are you acting like this? And then, again, I let that go. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just reading too much into things. Went to the dinner, we walked in, and obviously, he grabbed my hand then, which I notice is a pattern. He seems to always show affection or some kind of physical touch when there's other people around. But when it's just us two, he's like...
So was it like that, like the standoffish behaviour over the Christmas break and all of that? Or was it when the cameras started coming back into play that something switched?
I can't really go into too much detail, but like, for me, if you haven't seen your partner in a week or two, I would be jumping their guns. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there wasn't any like intimacy, and I thought, okay, we'll ease into it. But then when we walked into the reunion, like, he held my hand then, and we all walked in and, said we're going to move in together. We spent Christmas together. We just told them, like, everything that we've been up to, and everyone's like, wow, so you guys are like legit, like you guys are official. And we're like, yeah, and everything was great. But then I noticed during dinner, if you actually watch the whole clip, like he just kept literally like blocking me out with his arms. Like normally he'd have his, like, like you'd have your arm on the chair around your partner, but yeah, he was just very like standoffish. And I just felt weird. I was trying to like nestle my way in, but he just even more, like the more I was doing that, the more like he was just kind of like trying to block me. After dinner finished, the driver came and picked us up, and we were in the car. There was no one around. There were no cameras around. So I went and placed my hand on his, and then he just had this weird knee-jerk reaction. He was like, oh, and just made a really like just a not nice sound. So for him to flinch like that and make that sound, I was a bit like, oh, is everything okay? We're a couple. We're planning on moving in together. Like, what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just said, I just don't want to. And he yelled at me, and that's like, he doesn't normally do that. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
So were there any like fights or any discussions or anything, or was it mainly just like the physical touch and that kind of connection?
It's just literally what you saw throughout the whole experiment is him. He just goes hot and cold, and I'm constantly having to walk on eggshells and gauge, like, am I going to get nice Cody today, affectionate Cody, or am I going to get cold Cody? And I just felt like I could never step out of line, because if I did, he would give me the cold shoulder. It's a really bizarre thing to explain. And then he will flick it on me if I ever were to bring it up and say, this is how I'm feeling. He would be like, oh, well, I could say the same thing about you. It's just gaslighting. Yeah. But to him, that was like, oh, see what you're doing. Like, I don't know, it was always my fault. So he would classify that time that he was sitting there eating his yogurt, and I just said, look, that day I just needed a hug. And he's literally sitting there going, look, we're literally like basically in an argument like this and you've asked me for a hug. Like, no. Like, he classifies those moments as fights, whereas to me, that's a discussion. That's not a fight. That's just me trying to open up and tell you my needs, because that's what you do in a relationship.
So that night after filming the dinner party, what is that kind of discussion like when it comes to the point of let's call it quits?
I asked him if it was that bad holding my hand, and he said, yeah, I just don't want to. And then typical Cody, just out of nowhere, like, he just goes, yeah, so like, I'm just going to call it. I'm like, what do you mean you're calling it? Calling what? And he's like, yeah, so I've decided, we're just going to break up. I'm ending it.
Just like that.
Yeah. And just like that.
So then what do you even say to that?
I took it as if I've done something wrong. So then I was like, what have I done? Is there anything I can do? Like, did I say something? Did I do something? And it's awful. Now thinking back, I can't believe I did that. Like, the whole time I felt like I was going crazy. I was the problem. But that's what people like Cody do. Like, it's so toxic.
So did you tell anyone, or was it just, we'll just announce it on the couch?
It was all announced on the couch. He was very like, oh, you know, like, I'll support you, like, whatever you want to say. Like, if you want to just go like the next day and pretend we're still together, I'm fine with that. Like, but you know, I'll leave that up to you. Like, and it was like, again, I had this weird cycle within a few hours leading up to the final reunion of him just like flicking and back and forth, and oh, look, I still don't know if I've made the right decision. Like, let's just ride out the next day. You know, if we're meant to be, we'll find our way back to each other. So that's why I didn't say anything to anyone, because I was just in turmoil and pure confusion. Because even if you listen to 5 seconds of what comes out of this man's mouth, it's so confusing.
People are asking, why didn't he just wait 24 hours until filming had wrapped? Why did he have to do it at the reunion? Is that something that you thought about as well?
Honestly, I feel like he faked it, and it got to the point where you can't fake it anymore. And like, even just the thought of me holding his hand was just like, ugh, like, he was done.
Do you reckon he faked the relationship just the whole time?
Like, he put in the bare minimum effort. Like, it got to the point where he didn't even want to like pay for Ubers. Like, I was paying for everything, and I was putting in all the effort. I was paying for the flights to go see him. I paid for his flight to come to Adelaide. Like, he was putting in the bare minimum.
I've also seen a lot of people say, they've pointed out how he was the one at the dinner party to bring up Dom's nude photo. And so a lot of people have accused him of just doing things for airtime. Do you think he was considering airtime and popularity throughout the experiment?
So yeah, to me, I think he thought this whole thing was going to play out a whole different way. He thought he was going to kind of come across just your happy-go-lucky guy, and everything was just fun and banter, but it wasn't. You treated me like a second-grade citizen. Like what he did and what he was saying was just so like wrong and just like disrespectful.
I'm guessing there was obviously a lot that we didn't see as well. Like, were there some extreme moments that fans didn't see on camera?
It was just more the lack of effort. Like, even just bringing up homestays, you know, like the watermelon poster, like, you know, not even cleaning the house and having food in the fridge. I don't care about the Batman sheets so much, but like, oh, just like, I don't know, you have like clean towels and like, you know, like the swamp suit, like everything was just like a joke, like, you know, just something you would do with like one of the boys, like, you know, for fun. But I'm your partner. Like, are you trying to make it that bad so that I would break up with you so you won't have to do it. Like, it was just very like,
yeah.
The whole thing was a joke, and he thought everything was going to come out and come across funny.
So then what happens?
And also at home stays, I did find out that he only applied for the show because he lost a bet at the gym with one of the boys.
What? How did that even come out? How did you learn about that?
So we were sitting down, and this was being filmed. It didn't get shown, but his housemate, Zach, said, did Cody ever tell you why he applied for the show? And I was like, oh, well, I thought he came on to find me. And then he was like, yeah, nah, he actually lost the bet at the gym.
And what did he say to that?
He laughed it off like he does always. Like, he just laughs everything off, and like he's, yeah.
And then what happens after you film the breakup announcement at the reunion? Do you guys keep talking it over after that?
Basically, there was this whole back and forth conversation, and he ended it saying, like, look, if we're meant to be, we'll find our way back to each other. Again, you're trying to give me false hope when you know inside that this isn't going to go anywhere. And then he requested to have 2 weeks of no contact. And he said, I'll call you, though, the day before or the day of the first episode airing. And then that conversation lasted for 3 hours, and it was the same. It was Cody going around in circles. And then at the end, he was like, oh, actually, I'm coming down in 2 weeks to Adelaide.
So this is January?
So now this is like the day of the first episode airing. So he said he was going to come down, and I just said, look, Cody, like, I wish you nothing but the best, but I don't think it's a good idea to keep in contact. Like, what's the point? Like, I just knew this guy was going to spin me and have me around in circles like he's done from day one. And then he's like, oh, but so you don't want me to contact you in 2 weeks when I'm down in Adelaide? I'm like, no, dude. So he came, and he actually did message me, and I just said, look, I gave him a chance because I thought maybe after seeing a few episodes and seeing how he treated me, maybe he would come to some kind of realization or something, or even just, just say sorry. And then I just said, look, Cody, if you've got something to say or something's changed, I'm happy to see you. Otherwise, I just don't think it's a good idea to see each other. And then he was like, oh, well, yeah, I've got nothing to say. Nothing's changed at all. It's just letting you know I was in town. But I'll always have the time for you, though, because you know how much I care about you.
Yeah, his Instagram, I don't know if you've been seeing on social media, but he posted on Tuesday, his caption was, there won't come a day where I no longer care or have time for this beautiful girl. Like, what is your reaction when you see stuff like that?
I think it's absolute crap. It's so fake, because he had the chance to see me, to make things right, and to even just build a friendship out of this in the end. And he didn't. He didn't take any ownership. He said he had nothing to say to me. But now all of a sudden you want to go on Daily Mail, you want to go on your Instagram, and you want to write about how much you care about me and how much I am compassionate and a selfless person. You've never even said any of that. One of the last things he said to me was, I don't like you because you're a people pleaser and you remind me too much of my mum, and that puts me on edge. Like, it's all fake. Because when he did...
Oh, sorry. Did he say that to you, like, during filming, or was that like a...
So when I had asked him, like, is there anything I can do? Because I never want to walk away from a relationship if I've done something, because I genuinely thought I had done something to sabotage this. And he said, oh, the only advice I can give you moving forwards is that you're just a people pleaser and you're too nice.
Wow.
And then when he did come to Adelaide, and I said, look, I don't, I wish you well, but it's not a good idea to keep in touch. Then I find out that he's gone and gotten the paparazzi, like Daily Mail, to follow him around Adelaide and get pap shots. So I'm like, you've just shown me your true colours. You could have had a chance to catch up with me behind closed doors to make things right, but instead you've gone out in your little pink budgie smugglers to my local beach, which you used to pay out all the time because it's nothing compared to the northern beaches. Yeah, get pap photos and send out articles.
Since that trip in Adelaide, have you had any contact with him then?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. That has just shown me in a million words what this man, if you can call him that, is about and is like. Like I'm just the type of person, when you've shown me that I'm a disposable piece of shit and I've done nothing but show you kindness, respect and loyalty, like, sorry, once you've shut that door, like that's done. There's no, this isn't a cat flap thing that you can come in and out anytime you want.
I'm so glad you're self-aware in that though. Like, you know that what he said wasn't like a true representation of you. It doesn't affect you and like your ability to give love and all of that. Like, it's just a reflection of him.
That's probably the best thing that's come out of this, is just like, you know, I went into this thinking I was damaged goods, because, you know, I'm 34 this year and I've been single for like, it's creeping up to almost 10 years now. And you do get to a point when in life when you're like, is it me? Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, what is it? Yeah, going into this whole thing, I wanted to like learn about relationships and, you know, whether I was doing anything wrong. So I was more than happy to get called out by the experts if I was. And Mel did, but sorry, Mel, I love you, but I still to this day do not understand what she was trying to tell me that night.
I think we all agree with you that we were all confused at why Mel was going off at you rather than Cody. It was a very strange night.
But that is an example of why I stayed for so long. So when I tried to leave early on, that was me knowing my truth and my value. And, you know, I knew my basic human needs weren't being met. I knew he wasn't showing any interest or putting in any effort to get to know me as a human being. Like, he completely wrote me off from the start because I wasn't, I quote, something he was used to. So when Mel said that to me, my world just shook. Like, I genuinely thought I was doing something wrong and that people were seeing something that I wasn't. So I internalized that, and that's why I stayed, because she was like, if you want this to work, you need to let go of the past and you need to take accountability. And I was like, okay.
If the experts tell you to do something, of course, you want to follow that increase your chance.
Yeah, that's why I was there. I was willing to learn and willing to do anything to make this relationship work. And I think people have clearly seen that.
I know you said on the show that you were getting towards love for Cody.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're over him now? Are there still feelings there?
I can confidently say there are no more feelings there. I think I'm the type of person that when I care about someone and when you're in my tribe, I will always give my all to you and I will always see the best in you. So that's what I did with Cody. I kind of blocked out all the negatives. So watching that whole season, I was like, wow, I really needed to see that to really see like my worth and how poorly he treated me. Like, no one's cat even deserves to be treated the way that Cody treated me, honestly.
Well, I know that Australia is all on your side. Like, everyone's team Selina.
Yeah, I'm so humbled and grateful for everyone's support. Like, everywhere I've gone, like, everyone's just been so kind, and it means a lot.